welcome to Level 7. It is time for another episode of the Agents of Fandom podcast. I'm your host, TJ Zwarich, and it was a exciting week with D23 this past weekend, unleashing all types of Marvel, Star Wars, and Percy Jackson news, as well as animation, parks, and all other kinds of things. And no Adam this week, but tell me, break it down. I got my Felly. I was going to say, I don't know. I combined a few different words there, but my trusty backup co-host, good friend, and co-host of the Comic Corner, Damon Gray. How you doing, Damon?
You don't even know what to call me anymore.
Yeah, I don't.
You just like how when Adam's not available, you're on call. You're off the bench.
This one worked out perfectly because this was actually the other way around, because you messaged me and you were like, I want to talk about this. And I was like, Adam, you want a break this week? I know you're busy and you were looking for a break. So how about Damon comes in? So you weren't even the backup. You were the first string this week. But, you know, we brought in someone else who he knows a thing or two about Marvel and Star Wars, but he is the man when it comes to Percy Jackson. Liam Crowley, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Hell of a D23 week. Lots to talk about. And yeah, like you said, a lot of Percy news too. It's really, really cool to see Percy being put in the same stature as some of the Marvel and Star Wars announcements. It warmed my heart.
And coming right after Marvel, immediately after for some announcements too in the main hall. They're there. They're doing it. They are arguably putting themselves in a big three with Marvel content of Percy Jackson, Star Wars, and Marvel. So it's pretty exciting. Before we dive into all the announcements, we're going to have another segment of What Ya Watchin', and it is one that I'm very excited for because, you know, we extend it. If you're playing some games, if you're reading some books, you get to talk about that as well. Anything you're just doing for fun. And Damon, you've been asking me for about a year. I tried with the audiobooks and they weren't available in Canada. I am finally reading The Rise of Kyoshi from the Avatar The Last Airbender novels. I don't remember what stage, maybe about a third of the way through the novel, but my wife and I are reading together. We're taking turns reading aloud while one of us is driving, while one of us is doing something before bed, things like that. And Kyoshi and crew just found out that she is the Avatar. So that's where we are in the story. Very much enjoying it so far. You were correct with your recommendation.
Thank you. I mean, look, it's the best thing Avatar The Last Airbender has to offer are these books. And most people know about them, but there's still some people who don't. And, you know, reading is time consuming. So it's unfortunate for you that all the audiobooks were only available in German, which is kind of
in Canada, the only ones that are available are German.
Spricht sie Deutsch, ja? Super.
So are there 5 total out right now? The 2 Kyoshi,
Yes.
2 Yang Chen, and 1 Roku?
Yes, 2 Kyoshi, 2 Yang Chen, then 1 Roku, and there's about to be a second Roku. They just announced.
Perfect. So we're gonna be making our way through all of these, and then in terms of watching, I just I've been doing a Parks and Rec rewatch just because kind of like a throw it on comfort show, and until Star Wars Outlaws comes out, and since we're closed on the Marvel Rivals beta, I need something else to play. And so I've actually restarted Digimon World Next Order on my PS5. That's what I've been playing. Damon, how about you? What you've been watching?
I've been struggling because I've been pushing myself to get through Umbrella Academy. And this is a comic book series I adore. And ever since the end of the second season, I've just been oh no, what are we doing? Because it just went so far away from what the comic source material is. And this is the final season, and famously there's only 3 volumes of books. This is the 4th season. They are fully on their own at this point, and they're wrapping it up in a not so great way, but it's over. We can throw our hands up and just kind of be like, that happened. Mr. Gerard Way, Mr. Gabriel Ba, let's move on with the comic book again, please. Let's bring this back.
Liam, how about you? What have you been enjoying in your limited downtime?
I got it right here. Am I exposing my grout fit? I'm wearing gray shorts as well. The Dark Forest. Jijin Liu, I want to say is how you pronounce the name. Either way, it's the sequel to Three Body Problem, which people obviously know as the Netflix show that got adapted. The book a lot better than the show. The show is good, but the book is very different characters, very different pacing. It's one of those like adaptations where not like the Percy Jackson movie where it's like it's so different that you can't enjoy what was changed. The show has its own value, but the book is a lot more dense in the lore. And the first book I really enjoyed. This book is a little bit slow, but it is the second of a trilogy, so you kind of expect that kind of stuff to happen. And yeah, if you like sci-fi, it is definitely worth reading. If you're someone like me who likes your logical sci-fi, where it's like sci-fi rooted in our reality, the first book feels like an extension of our world. Second book, we have accelerated, 200 years into the future. So things are a little bit wonky, but I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I'm trying to do as much reading as I can in my downtime. I'm looking at my comic shelf here. I got a lot to get through. I just bought Infinity Gauntlet. I've actually never read Infinity Gauntlet all the way through. I've only read like individual issues. I want to read the Harry Potter books later this year, and I also have all of the Percy Jackson books in graphic novel form, and I've only read Lightning Thief and Sea of Monsters. So lots to read, not a lot of time to watch things that are unrelated to stuff I'm covering professionally.
Probably better for the brain and mental health. Like getting that good, all that reading activity in, like that's probably good when we're already watching so much content for work as it is. A lot of that content that we love watching is Star Wars, and that's the first thing we're covering from D23. If you're watching us before we dive in, if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Make sure you subscribe to the Agents of Fandom wherever you get your podcasts, because then you don't just get us, the wonderful Agents of Fandom pod, but you get Damon Fat Thor AF on the Comic Corner pod as well. We got something cooking for Rings of Power when that one drops. And so it's you want to get the podcast. If you want to watch us in video because we're beautiful, that's understandable. Especially when we have Liam on, but the podcast form as well, because that makes sure you don't miss anything. And speaking of Star Wars, we got a fun interview dropping right away as well from The Mandalorian with Emily Swallow, the armor, ahead of Fan Expo Canada. She joined us, so that'll be dropping as well. So make sure you stay tuned. And so you don't miss it, follow us on socials at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. There's a decent amount of Star Wars stuff, but a theme, I think, over the course of this is like not a whole lot of new. And especially when we get into Marvel animation, there's a lot of stuff released that it's like not necessarily new. But we got the people in attendance get a little bit of an Andor tease. We knew already that this is going to take place with multiple time jumps of every few years between episode arcs with to set up Diego Luna's character, Cassian Andor, for Rogue One. They didn't release much to the public, but one of the things they did was the Skeleton Crew trailer, and so that's what we will start with. Look, I don't have a whole lot to say. I'm excited for it. I love Star Wars everything, and so I can't wait to see this show when it comes out. We got some funny, silly-looking little characters. We got Jude Law in the lead. I love all aspects of Star Wars, so I'm excited about this one. Damon, how about you? Did the trailer get you more excited for Skeleton Crew?
Yeah, because I kind of went into it with little to no expectation. I knew this is a show that is deemed towards a younger audience, and that's totally fine because Star Wars is for everyone. We have Andor Season 2 coming out sometime soon, and that is very much like an adult-driven show. So you need something for the younger kids, and that's what this is. And it gives Goonie vibes, and I'm very excited for that because Star Wars Goonies, you put the two concepts together, and yeah, I'm in. You get a little bit of like suburbia at the very beginning of the show, which is interesting. It's a landscape we haven't seen in Star Wars before, but you mix it in with like creatures from all over the galaxy. And then they're off to find something. They're looking for an adventure. So, sure, yeah, it looks fun. It looks like it's going to be a good time, and I'm excited for it. Will it connect to anything grander in the Star Wars universe? I don't know, and I necessarily don't care because this show doesn't seem like it's about that.
It reminds me a lot of the kind of clone, like just from what we've seen, limited in what we've seen, the Clone Wars episodes where it's like Jedi younglings looking for their kyber crystals, that kind of just like squad gets into some mischief kind of thing. It's not necessarily on the top of my personal list, but I'm definitely going to be watching it every week. How about you, Liam?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of out on Star Wars right now. I just feel like the lore is accelerating quicker than I have the patience to like keep up with. And that's not a slight. Like I just there's so much good stuff out there right now that if Star Wars is not for me in the present day, that's okay. And I look forward to when a movie comes out or a show comes out where I feel like, okay, I can add this onto my plate and not feel like I have to do too much homework. I feel like the past recent Star Wars shows have kind of exposed it for being more of a theatrical property. And so that's why I look forward a bit to seeing what, especially Mandalorian season 3. I think it's pretty universal that Mandalorian season 3 was a step down from seasons 1 and 2. And I think the idea of taking that franchise and confining it to a theatrical runtime could do it a lot of favors. I wasn't really big on the Acolyte, and also to Andor was solid, but it was one of those classic shows, and this happens so often. I know you guys can relate, where you're watching it and then life catches up and you get a little busy and then you forget what happened and what you watched, but you're too lazy to go back and rewatch what you already watched, so you just forget about it. And I know I'm missing out by doing so because Andor seems to be beloved by everyone. So definitely probably when season 2 comes around, I'll catch up on season 1. But yeah, Skeleton Crew, for a different audience, and that's more than okay. Not for me. And we will wait patiently when the right property comes around.
The Mandalorian and Grogu is coming to the big screen in 2026. Damon, we get our boy Zeb included in this movie. They confirmed that at D23. I still don't know why he wasn't in Ahsoka season 2 or season 1 like the rest of the Rebels. But they show some footage that includes the return of the Razor Crest. So they're kind of going back to their Mandalorian and Grogu origins. We just want to see our silly space cowboy and with his cute little son going out and doing some things in the galaxy, and that kind of seems like what they're returning to in this movie. I saw somebody just recently asked Katie Sackhoff, who plays Bo-Katan, are you going to be in the movie? She's like, of course I can't talk about it. What do you think? And I did ask Emily Swallow that as well in the interview. I was like, so is the armor going to be in the interview or in the movie? And she was like, yeah, I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. So that is, I didn't expect to get much, but of course had to ask. But I don't really know this movie is going to be about. But Liam, it kind of seems like it'll be a little bit of what you talked about, returning to season 1 and 2 vibes, I think, of those characters, and just going, hey, everybody, you love these guys. We're going to throw them in the movie theater. Everybody come watch. I think it's going to be a fun time. I don't think it's going to have as high of stakes as maybe some of the other Star Wars movies in the future.
I'm definitely curious to see how it performs, both critically and financially, because correct me if I'm wrong, but like this is probably the first time a Disney Plus property is leaping to the big screen. Like you can make the argument for WandaVision, but Doctor Strange 2 was a Doctor Strange sequel. And obviously WandaVision kind of tied into it, even though Sam Raimi clearly didn't watch the show when he was writing Wanda's character. So like, I'm very curious to see, because if this thing is a hit, I think Disney will be like, okay, we can grow kind of, Disney Plus can be the farm system. We can grow IP and then take it to the big screen. But if this is a miss, we might be seeing more Disney Plus original movies, kind of like what Netflix does, which I don't know how I feel about that, because a Disney Channel original movie is its own sacred thing. I don't want there to be Disney Plus original movies, even though they do already kind of technically exist. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting questions about that movie that go beyond just like plot and structure.
I was thinking so much about that when at D23 they're just doing this Frozen 3, Frozen 4, here's everybody coming back, Moana 2, here's The Rock. And it used to just be Aladdin 2. Robin Williams isn't back. A bunch of voice actors aren't back.
Straight to VHS.
Same thing with Lion King. Same thing with all of them. You get these straight to VHS releases with none of the expensive actors coming back. We live in different times now, for sure. I'm so excited for the Mandalorian Grogu, but I think personally that just like the cuteness and what is the popularity that Grogu has become and Baby Yoda has become worldwide and just merchandise, I think is going to keep this movie performing pretty well. What do you think, Damon?
Somehow the Razor Crest returns. You know, we're kind of going back to a place where if you are keeping up with the show, you're going to go into it, be like, all right, how do we get to this point? If you're looking at people, because this is Disney Plus's most watched show, it still is. From day one to now, this is Disney Plus's most watched franchise as a whole, right? From Mandalorian and all. So it's interesting for me looking at it from a general audience point of view for those who may not have Disney Plus. How are you going to get them in on this? Are they going to be able to just jump right into this and watch this and all of that, right? Zeb, including him, cool. You're going to make the hardcore Star Wars fans happy by including, you know, a beloved character from an animated show like myself. I'm excited to see Zeb. Why was he not in Ahsoka? I don't know. Money, probably. He's expensive to do. So I know. I'm looking forward to it. I just don't know what the plot's going to be. And I think that, to me, is going to be the most decisive thing when it comes to this movie because I agree with Liam. Season 3 ended just kind of like an You know, we built up all these clones and everything, and then it just kind of came to an finish. So how do we move on from that and continue to tell a story and maybe possibly push to where we were at the beginning of The Force Awakens?
Moving on to Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Liam, we're going to basically just ignore Damon for this one. We're going to pretend he is not here. We have the one of the I was very excited to the second time actually. We had Erica Ito of the Seaweed Brain podcast on our pod. It wasn't to talk Percy Jackson, it was to talk Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I was so excited to introduce Damon because he's such a big fan, but he does not cross over to the Percy Jackson side, so we're just going to ignore him. We're going to get rid of him. He's still going to see him because he's got a pretty face, but we're going to ignore him. And I got some prompts for you, but you are welcome to just cook about whatever you want to talk about, my man. So big performance at D23. Everybody's excited. The first things that stands out is we get some footage, Walker Scobell narrating, and he is taller, he looks older, and his voice is deep. But my God, that boy looked good in the helmet and made me think maybe he is a demigod.
You know what's funny is the fact that like Sea of Monsters is not like the step towards maturity that a lot of people expect it to be, or expect like a second book to be. That's more Titan's Curse. Like Titan's Curse, you feel the change of, okay, little less quips, little more bloodshed, little more like adult themes and stuff like that. And so obviously, just the nature of how the cast is aging, they are going to be forced to do a little bit more severity in season 2. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think the numbers don't lie for Percy Jackson. Damon, I know you said Mando is number 1 on Disney Plus all time. I believe that statistic because it has 3 seasons. But Percy Jackson, I believe season 1 was like the most successful Disney Plus launch of all time. It also, and I won't just inflate those numbers, it also had the luxury of having a subscriber base of Disney Plus people in 2023. While Mandalorian launched in 2019 with, you know, a couple million subscribers, now Disney Plus is like 150 million, bigger base, all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, we're
cutting that part out. Percy Jackson Hive, we're number 1 in all the metrics.
Amen. Exactly. Forget what I said. Number 1. No, but like you said, I think it's great that Disney is kind of in a position to where, I mean, we see it with Netflix, right? Like Stranger Things is such a hit, but they were so patient is like the wrong word. I want to say they were a little bit slow in progressing Stranger Things as fast as it could go. I think Disney Plus sees that the numbers don't lie and also sees that we need to strike the iron while it's hot and make sure, you know, that the kids still feel age appropriate by the time we get to season 5. It feels like an appropriate age jump and stuff like that. So it's cool to see. And I'm happy that, you know, even from the little bit of narration we got from Walker, they also talked about it in other interviews as well, that being Walker, Aryan, and Leah, that there's going to be a little bit more maturity in season 2. And that is only a good thing because unfortunately, like when we grew up with the books, it made sense of like, okay, we're starting at this level because you're 8 years old. But by the time we get to the book 5, you're 12 and you can handle this. We are all, you know, adults now. So we're ready for like this series to take that leap into feeling more like PG-13, TV-14. And of course, the audience that they're playing with are all still kids. So I'm looking forward to feeling like it's a little bit up to our adult speed, but also there's no rush. See, it's only Sea of Monsters, only book 2. save a lot of the good stuff, obviously, for Titan's Curse, Battle of the Labyrinth, and of course the big one, which will be, if executed properly, will be Disney Plus Endgame, that being The Last Olympian.
And we're going to clip that part and send it to Netflix so they can take some notes for Avatar The Last Airbender in terms of how fast they got to get that out, because it is a very...
Didn't they greenlight Avatar season 2 and 3 at once?
Yeah.
So I think they must have learned their lesson.
Great news. Yeah, great news with that. And it just, when you're going with a kid to teen cast, I think with anything, you got to make sure it's like, all right, if we're doing it, we got to do all of it, because these kids change ages very, very quickly. But season 2, they confirmed it's going to be adapting Sea of Monsters, and the book introduces a bunch of new characters. We got Percy's half-brother Tyson. We have the Grey sisters. These are all characters who are now confirmed and cast. We've seen some looks at them. So as a big fan, do you feel like they've pretty much nailed the casting with everything so far? Do you feel like that has continued?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very stoked for Daniel's portrayal of Tyson, because I'm unfamiliar with his work, but he confirmed at D23 that the Cyclops eye is going to be practical. Like, ILM is working something up to put effects on his, not effects on his face, to put prosthetics on his face to make this eye work, feeling like humanoid or cyclopsanoid, whatever you want to call it. And that could go really well, or it could go really poorly, because we know what practical effects changing bodies can look like in TV and film. But at the end of the day, I think more practical is better, because one of my issues with season 1 of Percy Jackson is there were a lot of moments where you saw the ILM volume screen, you saw the CGI being put behind it. So if we can get more practical effects on the characters and we can get more practical locations, I think that is only a win. And again, season 1 was such a massive win, but I think the fact that they are learning from some of the things that they can improve upon is a amazing sign for the future of this franchise. And yeah, the Grey sisters, I'm familiar with one of them from, I believe, SNL. The other two, I'm not very familiar with, but again, they all seem like they bring great energy. And then as of today, Timothy Simons was cast as Tantalus, who is obviously the one who takes over as camp activities director at Camp Half-Blood when Chiron is suspected of poisoning Talia's tree, because Chiron is technically a son of Kronos. And the fact, I don't believe the Sea of Monsters movie did anything with Tantalus. So the fact that we are getting that shows me that this is going to be a more one-to-one adaptation of the book, which is all the more intriguing, because when the series was first announced at Disney Plus, part of me was like, damn, I'm excited, but I really can't get excited until season 3, because we've seen the events of seasons 1 and 2 in movie form. But season 1 made it very clear, after episode 4, you really haven't seen any of that, because the movie takes such a hard left turn. And the same thing with the Sea of Monsters. I got a lot of love for the Lightning Thief movie, because of just personal connection to it. But the Sea of Monsters movie is abysmal. It is not even close to how the Sea of Monsters book plays out. So the fact that we are going more one-to-one, I think, is only a good thing. And yeah, Tyson's going to be fun. Tantalus is going to be fun. Grey Sisters are going to be fun. And I'm trying to think who else we have to cast. Talia. But Talia is like a last page reveal. So part of me is like, don't announce it. Film that scene in secret. Let us find out when the finale airs next year.
Do you have any fun fan casts for Talia?
I honestly have given up on fan casts, and not in like a, oh, I'm done doing fan casts. Like no, I'm okay stepping back, especially for the kid roles, because the reality is a lot of the kids are going to be unknowns. Like, people knew who Walker was because of the Adam Project, and I believe he had another movie with Owen Wilson. But Aryan Samhadri, I educated myself on after he was cast. Same with Leah Jeffries. Same with Charlie Bushnell, Dior Goodjohn. All these super talented actors that just didn't have the spotlight on them until Percy Jackson came around. So for Talia, I'm just, whoever they cast, I'll be excited, because they haven't missed yet, which is always a good thing.
Charlie Bushnell and Dior Goodjohn upgraded to series regulars for season 2. That was confirmed as well. And Walker Scobell gave his fan cast for Triton, with saying he would like to see Logan Lerman come back in the role. Speaking of Sea of Monsters and the Lightning Thief movies.
Yeah, Logan would be really fun to have in any capacity in this show, as just like a legacy wink and nod. I love that Walker is allowed to say these things publicly, because we know how press can be, in the sense of like having to hold back a little bit on what you truly want, because they don't want to give any like false hope. I don't know anything. I want to emphasize that, but the fact that these are being discussed publicly tells me at least there's an ambition from Disney to get Logan Lerman in the show in some capacity. I don't know how he feels about it. I've asked him about Percy Jackson before. He clearly looks back on that time fondly in his career, but he even told me, he was like, it's hard for me to answer any Percy Jackson questions because I haven't thought about it in so long. The reality was it was a decade ago. It's crazy to say out loud. But at the same time, they did have that picture together, Walker, Aryan, and Logan, at one of like the Disney celebrations recently. So I'm sure there was a conversation about what that could look like. I know everyone wanted him to play Poseidon. He was too young to play Poseidon, but Triton could be fun. And especially after seeing the winks and nods with getting Chris Evans back as Human Torch for Deadpool and Wolverine, I think there could be something really special if Logan and Walker share the screen in the Percy show.
Couldn't agree more. Shout out one time to my perfect call of the Chris spoiler alert. We'll put that in the tag. Fat Thor in the background. Put a Deadpool and Wolverine spoiler alert for our guy Brandon Moore. He has to wait until they come to Disney Plus. And so he avoids everything like the plague, but it's one of those things that like we're gonna talk about it, right? So we just throw the spoiler in there, warning in there for our guy Brandon at a timestamp, so he knows to look for it.
I'm sorry, Brandon. I love you. I really hope I didn't spoil that for you.
You're good. You're good. We're gonna make sure it's tagged, and it's a perfect time to call back to shout out to go to our YouTube. Go to our short section, and you can find my theory coming true with exactly how that one shook out. Before we move on from Percy Jackson, I want to shout out my niece Gabby, who is one of the very biggest Percy Jackson fans I know, who just got her license today. So shout out to Gabby, who got her license. And Percy Jackson season 2 is coming soon to Disney Plus. The combination of, in theory, maybe the most exciting panel from D23, except for the fact that we knew almost everything that they released already, was the Marvel animation panel. X-Men 97 season 2 is coming soon. We're going to get the Grant Morrison suits from his comic, from their comic, which is very fun. Polaris, Warlock, Apocalypse, they're all going to be included. X-Men 97, it's coming soon. We're very excited about it because season 1 was amazing, but not a whole lot revealed there for us other than a few character footage stuff that they showed. Eyes of Wakanda is going to be different time periods with war dogs protecting secrets of Wakanda. We knew this. It's only going to be 4 episodes, though. Along with Marvel Zombies, only going to be 4 episodes. We've been complaining on this show for a while. Like I basically look, outside of Secret Invasion, almost everything we've covered I've loved, whether it be a Star Wars project, a Marvel Disney Plus show, Percy Jackson, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Even with flaws throughout, I have just adored basically everything, except for the fact that I've been adamant that Disney Plus needs to move away from this model of 6 to 8 episodes. It doesn't work to properly tell a television story. I didn't mean to go down to 4, though. I meant to go up. I didn't mean to cut it lower. I guess since these are sort of like special presentation-y animation projects, it could work, but I don't know. What do you think, Dave?
Well, first of all, Frank Wiley, the artist on the Grant Morrison run, actually created and designed.
I saw the thread of this of people being like, "How about we credit that the person who drew the costumes as opposed to the author who just wrote it?" And I knew you would correct me, and so I didn't look it up because I knew you would have it on hand.
Also, going back to that, Polaris, a character we've seen in the original animated series. Warlock, a character we've seen in the original animated series. And Apocalypse showed up every other episode. So, yeah, showed up every other episode. I mean, look, the 4-episode thing is almost symbolic of what is going on with the comics right now with miniseries. There's more and more and more 4-issue miniseries. And I have a problem with those myself because you're not able to really tell a complete story, and it's more of just like a collection of back issues that tell a smaller story, right? I mean, again, it's just, my biggest gripe with this is these shows were announced 3-4 years ago. Why is it taking this long to make 4 episodes of television? It really shouldn't. Like that's the frustrating part about all of this. It's 4 episodes of television. Whether that be 25 minutes to 45 minutes, these were announced 3-4 years ago. That's my biggest gripe with this, honestly.
Yeah, to me, and it essentially just comes down to money too, and just get more people on it and get people paid the proper amount so that they can get it done in a quicker time period with more resources and more people, like as opposed to just having a tiny budget and saying getting it done. And people can point to Robert Downey Jr. and as Dr. Doom, he's going to be getting hundreds of millions of dollars. He shouldn't be getting that. Honestly, in my perspective, I kind of think he should be, because these movies are going to make billions of dollars, and him returning will be a large reason for that for a lot of people. Even though I personally don't love the decision, it's going to get a lot of people back in there. It's like, to me, when people comparing sports players and being like, oh, sports players are so overpaid, they shouldn't be making millions of dollars like that. Well, Steph Curry, when he was drafted to the Golden State Warriors, that team was worth like $500 million. Now they're worth almost $5 billion. That's almost all, not all, because obviously there was other great players there who won a championship. But the reason that team's worth so much more, it's because of the things he was doing there. But while he's making millions, the owners are making billions. And there are higher ups within Marvel and Disney who are making a whole lot more money than they need. There is more money to go around for all of these people. And I think just showing that you have all this cash to throw at Robert Downey Jr. Proves it is there, that you can spread out across the creatives, because it's more than just the star of the movie and the star of the show that makes the show. Throw some more money at this and get some of this stuff done quicker. Or don't announce it until it's closer to being done, because there's no reason for us to hear about a show 3-4 years ago and have it still being just announced again 3-4 years later.
The one thing I will say, I mean, at least with The Eyes of Wakanda, with it being 4 episodes, this is an anthology series.
Yeah.
It's not like a complete story they're trying to wrap up within 4 episodes. So that at least is fine. It makes sense. It would be nice if we could have more. And some of the characters that were teased in it is cool, and it would be like nice to get more of that than 4 episodes. We also don't know how long that one in particular will be. We do know when we talk about the Spider-Man one, that will have to be within a certain time frame because of rights and all that stuff. But Marvel Zombies, that one's a big bummer being 4 episodes. That one to me is the biggest bummer. Like, I would want like 12 episodes of that, and it's only 4.
I think there's a lot of different things they could have done with it, and they basically just decided we'll tell one story, and that'll be that with Marvel Zombies. But of those 2, Liam, do you think there's anything you're going to prioritize making, or 3, I guess? Obviously, X-Men 97 is going to be a very big hit, but personally, at least for Marvel Zombies, Eyes of Wakanda, and X-Men 97, I'm going to watch all of them, but none of this got me more excited.
Yeah, well, first off, shout out my good friend, Brandon Davis, for hosting this panel. He knocked it out of the park, and, knowing Brandon for a couple of years now and following his career for even longer, I know that hosting a Marvel panel has been a dream of his for a decade. And so when I found out that it was happening, and then when I saw the photos and the videos, I got pretty emotional. I'm not going to lie. It's really cool to see good people win. He's one of the best in the business. A lot of love and admiration and respect for him. And yeah, he's such an amazing talent. I've learned so much from him. And so like seeing him on that stage, I felt like a proud son. Like not like a proud dad. Like he is my father figure in this industry, my mentor. And so I'm really, really happy that he got to have that moment and do some amazing things. He freaking introduced Coleman Domingo to the MCU. Like, come on, what a moment. But to your question, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm not gonna watch Marvel Zombies or Eyes of Wakanda. Like, I don't prioritize the animated shows. I've never been quiet about the fact that animation just doesn't hit for me as hard. I'm a live action guy through and through. If you want to call that a character flaw, so be it. It's just not my medium, so to speak. But on the front of like the episode counts, like I get if you're doing an anthology, but 4 episodes, that's a movie. It's an animated show, so we're never going to eclipse 30 minutes. 30 minutes times 4 is 2 hours. That's a movie. Why not just do an animated movie? I grew up on Marvel cartoon movies. The freaking Ultimate Avengers, the one where they had that villain in Wakanda and he was like transforming, and I was so fascinated.
That's Ultimate Avengers 2?
Yes, so great with Giant Man and like the psychotic version of Hank Pym and all that. I love that movie. Like I love that movie so much, and I love so much of the other Marvel animation movies. I love so much of the DC animation movies. Everyone loves the DC animation movies. Why not do an Eyes of Wakanda like animated movie? Why not do Marvel Zombies as a Disney Plus event movie? That I don't understand, and I think calling it an anthology is a bit of a crutch of like, well, we want to tell 4 separate stories and we don't want to do 4 separate movies. There's ways to get around it. But plus, I will say about Marvel Zombies and Eyes of Wakanda, this is a personal gripe I have. I like original titles, so I like Eyes of Wakanda and Marvel Zombies, and I really liked WandaVision. And honestly, even though the show wasn't that great, I liked it calling it Secret Invasion, not Nick Fury and the Skrulls. Like The Mandalorian and Grogu is such a frustrating title because it's so corny and cheesy. Just find a way to like sum up the story.
Space Cowboy and Baby.
The Mandalorians, plural.
Exactly, or Star Wars Space Cowboys. Come on, and just like the same way that James Bond isn't called like James Bond 1, James Bond 2. It's No Time to Die. Oh, what's that about? Oh, it's the new James Bond movie. That's cool. Like I loved how WandaVision was like, okay, this is clearly an amalgamation of Wanda Maximoff and Vision, but it also is like, well, it's Wanda's television. It's WandaVision, original titles. As much as I love The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, come on, we could have done better. So like Eyes of Wakanda gets me excited solely because it's not called like the Black Panther's Legacy or something like that. Like, no, it's an original title. Like more of those. So I'm very flip-flopped. I don't really care about the anthology. I don't really care about it being serialized, but the titles got me.
The title's got, that's not what I expected, but I like it. What If Season 3 announced to be the final season? We will finally be getting characters outside of just the first few phases of Marvel. We're getting Shang-Chi, we're getting Moon Knight, we're getting Monica Rambeau, Sam Wilson, White Vision, Ironheart, all with their original voice, all with their original actors returning to voice the characters. But I think the most exciting thing from the Marvel animation panel by a fairly wide margin was Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. And it's like you said, Liam, we got Brandon introducing Coleman Domingo as Norman Osborn for the first time is a huge reveal. And if I'm not mistaken, we got Hudson Thames voicing Peter Parker. He also did it in What If. If I'm not mistaken, Liam, you've interviewed Hudson before back on the Direct podcast, did you not? Did I get that right?
No, that was someone else. But it is a great interview. I listened to it.
It was on the. I think it was when you were still there back in the day, but somebody else on it potentially.
I think it might have been Matt. I think
it might have just been Matt, but I remember listening to that episode of the Direct podcast in the pandemic.
yeah. Hudson's great. He's an amazing voice actor, and he's done so much as Peter, right? Even beyond What If, like he did like Spectacular Spider-Man, right?
That one was Josh Keaton. Josh Keaton is Spectacular.
Oh, okay.
But there's like a core right now of like Josh Keaton, Hudson Thames, Yuri Lowenthal that are doing almost all the Spider-Men, and all 3 of them are doing really, really incredible jobs with it. But yeah, Coleman Domingo as Norman is something I'm very excited about. Damon, it's apparently going to be similar to the Peter-Tony relationship. This is just a different universe.
Yeah, baby, what could possibly go wrong when the Green Goblin himself is your mentor, you know? This is the series I'm most excited about, and this was the part of the panel where I'm just like, I just need a date. Like, we've been teasing this for so long, like, I just need it now. Because the second that the concept art was brought out, and it was made by Leo Romero, who is one of my favorite comic artists, and the style of it is just his style is so classic. He's done books like Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, he's done Birds of Prey recently over at DC, and he's worked on the fabulous The True Lives of Fabulous Killjoys with Gerard Way. Like, his style is so classic, and the fact that they're taking that and putting it into an animated show for me is just like so good. We get to see like these classic versions of Doctor Strange and Iron Man and his take on Nico, and maybe like these other little characters. If you go through like this huge cast that you saw, like all these characters are going to be in this show, and you can point up like, oh, is this so and so, is that so and so, I don't know, this will be interesting. I'm very excited for it. This is gonna be such a fun take on Norman Osborn and just this whole universe. I this is one of my most anticipated Marvel projects for so many reasons. And part of it is because I think we've talked about how much we love My Adventures with Superman. And it's because it takes that classic Superman story, but it's clearly like a different universe, another timeline, and you can kind of do whatever you want within that so long as it makes sense and pays homages to that character. Like we see like these really cool versions of Parasite, for example, right? So it's like, what cool versions of these characters are we going to see in this one? I cannot wait. I just need a release date. I just need to know when. That's it. We had all these projects that were just talked about again, and we got no release date. I'm just like, I just want them now.
Iron Man's going to show up. Daredevil's going to show up. Nico Minoru is going to show up. Amadeus Cho, others. And the way Peter's getting his spider bite is because Doctor Strange and Venom are going to be popping through a portal, and a spider's coming out of that portal as well. And that is what is going to be giving Peter his powers. So I'm very excited about this one. No surprise. Like that's my highest anticipated one from the Marvel animation, because Spider-Man's by far my favorite Marvel character. But switching things into the live action MCU, we're making great time. We're pushing along and we're getting through this. I like it. Fantastic Four is the big one. We got the inspired Fantastic Four hoodies up on fandomify.com, the Agents of Fandom store. They released the tease of the score done by Michael Giacchino. They showed some footage of Reed Richards at the Future Foundation. Another part that's going to be included in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is a Future Foundation suit for Spider-Man. They teased that as well. He's kind of shown in a Bill Nye the Science Guy like role, doing some science lessons on a TV show. And you get Galactus peering in. We also get a first look of a suit worn by Johnny Storm with some blonde hair in there as well. We didn't get to see much, but I'm excited about this Fantastic Four tease they're giving, Liam. I love the retro vibes. I'll admit, I'm not sold on Quinn as Johnny Storm, but I'm going to just keep that to myself for the most part, because there's a lot of people on the internet just being mean about it. And I'm convinced he will do a great job. I just don't fully see personally the Pedro Pascal read yet. I'm excited to see it. I think he's going to be great, but I need to see it but to believe it, kind of thing. Now, Ebon Moss-Bachrach and oh my gosh, why am I forgetting Sue's name? Vanessa Kirby is my favorite casting of the bunch. I think they're going to be amazing, but I can't wait to see this team in action, and I think it's going to be a very fun story. What did you think of what we saw from the first look?
Fantastic Four is really gonna have to sell me. I'm not very intrigued at what we've seen so far. I get that Matt Shackman knocked WandaVision out of the park. I don't necessarily think we needed a WandaVision style Fantastic Four movie. I also am not really blown away by the casting. I also am not blown away by how the actors are presenting the show. I have yet to see an interview with the Fantastic Four cast where they genuinely look like, just to say the quiet part out loud, excited to be there. Like Joseph Quinn, when he was talking in the footage as Joseph Quinn, like when they were introducing the footage virtually, he looked so like, I don't know, dejected or tired or something.
He looked scared.
Yeah, it was like
I got that as like just nervous.
Maybe it is nerves, and I hope it is just nerves. I know he is someone like Marvel, to me, especially nowadays, I think the protection of spoilers is getting a little too out of hand. I understand you can't reveal big stuff, but anytime I've interviewed any actor who is in a Marvel project, they like freeze up at just the word Marvel. And I'm like, can we, like, James Gunn is doing it too much with DC, like revealing all these tidbits on threads like every single day. There's a place in the middle where we can like be excited and say things like, yes, Johnny Storm's going to have blonde hair. Like, that is not a spoiler that you need to, like, threaten a sniper rifle with. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this cast, because they're all bigger names, but they're entering the MCU 15, 16 years into its existence, are walking on, like, these eggshells that I just don't think really need to be there. And to me, they're really affecting how excited I can be for this movie. I hope that Fantastic Four the movie has a WandaVision like twist to explain the alternate Earth and the retro vibe and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, like you, TJ, I'm not sold on the Pedro Pascal casting just yet. I had a lot of personal fan casts for Johnny Storm, which I understand is only setting me up for failure by getting married to a fan cast.
This is why you didn't want to do the fan cast.
Well, I mean, yeah. Yeah, Galactus could be cool, but also first movie with Galactus, like that's an Avengers level threat. That's a little, wow, we're going there in the first movie. Yeah, and also the Doctor Doomness of it all. Doctor Doom is such a fascinating character to grow with, to explore Doom and Reed being college roommates, and to explore Doom's rise to power in Latveria. And I don't know how I feel about the idea that we're going to introduce him as an Avengers level threat in 2026 and not have the chance to grow with him akin to growing with Loki before he became the Avengers big bad. So yeah, Fantastic Four, they got to nail it. And if they don't nail it, it really just might be a cursed property at this point.
There's a couple tidbits from the press stuff that I really enjoyed, and that's the chemistry between Vanessa Kirby and Pedro Pascal. The way the two of them are looking at each other, like they've already got that part down. And then Ibon Moss Bachrach talking about the thing. I was like, have you done anything to prepare? And he's like, yeah, I've been watching a lot of Rocks. Like that's something that Ben Grimm would say. You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean? How did I prepare? Yeah, I've been watching Rocks. Like that part I did enjoy. Damon, what about you? How did the reveals elevate or lower your anticipation levels?
I'll be the positive one here. I'll be the little spark of joy because I'm very excited for this. I love the vibe that it's giving. I've wanted, when they initially announced that we were doing a Fantastic Four movie, I was on the team of let's set it as a time period piece, like in the 60s, and then eventually by the end of it, we get to our current time, right? Because the Fantastic Four are kind of, in a way, a dated concept in a lot of like its themes and villains and everything. So if you started off in like another universe that's set in the 60s, and by the end of it, through some incursion mumbo jumbo, however the heck, whatever way we get there, absolute point, we have like a list of 5 different multiverse MacGuffins at this point. Pick one, throw them in the 616, and that's how we get there essentially by the end. I love the score. It has that mix of hope and futuristic, little bit of cheese in there with the chorus Fantastic Four. I really like that. The suit itself, Johnny's suit, fit the vibe of it all. Like it just matched what they were going for. And Galactus, I do agree with Liam. That is a Avengers level threat. That could be taken down with Squirrel Girl if you really want to be silly. But it is an Avengers level threat. And like that's a big thing. And it's like, are we going to put that in this movie? Is that going to be the threat that pushes them into our reality? Like eventually Galactus wins and they have to escape Earth and they're failed Fantastic Four members essentially. And they end up in our reality that causes an incursion and blah, blah, blah. That's how we get there. I feel like plenty of ways for them to get into our reality. I want to see how long we stay in that 60s piece because I think that's the most fun of it all.
I will say, to build off that really quick, I really like the idea of, like, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the origins of how they get their powers is going into an alternate dimension, right?
Yeah, so there's different versions of it. You could do like the space route or like, let's say, the quantum realm route. That's an option.
Sure. So on that note, I would like the idea more if it felt like they're originally from our worlds. They spend time, like they get their powers by going to this alternate place and can't get back, so they like spend time there. And then by the time they come back to our worlds, because they have to get integrated with the mainline MCU eventually, it doesn't feel like they're like coming from another world. It feels like they're going back because we've done the Man Out of Time story with Steve Rogers already. I like the idea more of a return to something that's familiar, but obviously stuff has changed in your absence and all that kind of stuff. And maybe Galactus is only in their world, and like you said, he could win in this movie, And then the classic kind of Quantumania ending of like, did we beat him or did we just escape him? And then that way we save Galactus for down the line, because Galactus has like Eternals connections, if I'm not mistaken. Like he is a Celestial, right? So
Yeah, it's Galactus is like a big asterisk with all that because he is his own being.
That's kind of like
McAvoy or Stewart. These timelines are so confusing. But yeah, like you're already making me an optimist, Damon. So I appreciate you.
To me, that's kind of why they are doing Galactus, is almost a reminder of, just with how often we've used the term Avengers level threat, that Fantastic Four handled threats far bigger than the Avengers for a long ass time. You know what I mean? These are the guys, second to the X-Men. I think that's almost the attempted reminder with the Galactus, and especially because he was done so poorly the last time they did him. All you got to do is just make him not a cloud, and it's already a lot better.
Big win.
I think I don't hate that idea, but he doesn't fit into what I was thinking of as we were just weaving theories together of like, they start in our universe. I was thinking when Liam said they go to that universe, well, when they go there, that could be what causes the incursion. And that can maybe take 40 years to happen, 20 years, 10 years, however long they've been there. That causes the incursion. They come back, and that's when they start warning everybody on our Earth about incursions, things like that. So I do think there are a lot of possibilities there. Other footage shown at D23, there was some Brave New World footage, but it was the exact same as what they already showed at D23. We got Harrison Ford hulking out, etc. There's Ironheart footage. She is shown expelled from MIT. She's working with Anthony Ramos, who plays the Hood. It looks technological. It looks mystical. It looks a lot of fun. But again, like Damon was saying, when the hell is this show coming out? Agatha all along.
Sometime.
They got another new trailer. That one actually did come out. This show, we got a date. It's coming in September. That's going to be the next big show that we are covering here on the Agents of Fandom podcast. They featured some musical numbers on stage at D23, and there's going to be lots of those in the show. We only got grainy leaked footage from people's phones, but my God, did the Daredevil Born Again trailer look so exciting. We got the vibes of the original show. We got the MCU connectivity. I don't know why Kamala's dad was there, but Damon and I, we have a little theory that could match up with that. Matt and Kingpin are face to face. We got John Bernthal returning as the Punisher, saying, "Hey, Red." It's exciting. We got Foggy and Karen back. Damon, this was the highlight of the entire live action MCU panel for me.
Oh, absolutely. The only downside is they didn't release the trailer. Why? Why did you not release the trailer? You knew it was going to be out there anyway. Why not just put it under your own power? It looks good, man. It looks good. There's this one shot, allegedly, this one shot of all these helmets throughout the years, and you're like, oh, there's a black one, there's the one from She-Hulk, there's one of the red ones, red one, or black one with red glasses, like an eyeliner on it. It's, the vibe. Muse looks so cool, dude. And that's a character that, if they do right, is downright menacing. Like, absolutely terrifying. There's a very slight little tease, because as we do know at the end of Echo, they were teasing up the whole Mayor Fisk arc. When we see Fisk in this trailer, he does have a little American flag on his lapel. So clearly he's still running. So I don't know if maybe that's a storyline they'll probably pick up in the second season of this, which they're apparently going to be starting to film very soon, which is very exciting. I cannot wait for the show. This is the type of show
out of
that
Edmonton Comic-Con next month because of filming for it. So
there you go. This is the type of show that is made for television, as it was back in Netflix. This is a very grounded show with grounded characters doing grounded things. Like, this isn't too CGI crazy. This isn't a very VFX heavy, or hopefully very little to no volume. That would be very exciting. So it'll look good for the budget that they're doing, for the amount of episodes that hopefully it will be. I am so very excited. You mentioned Kamala's dad being in this and like why, and at least from a story perspective, my first initial reaction was, oh, maybe he's having Matt Murdock come in to help with a lawsuit against the Department of Damage Control, like he did with whoever Peter Parker is, ha ha ha, Spider-Man. So like there's a little bit of connection there because this
We
is a
got the
guy that
tease there with him saying, "I'm a really good lawyer."
I'm a
At
really
the
good
end of that
lawyer.
trailer.
So there you go. Maybe he's going around helping some of these young Avengers or whatever you want to call them get out of some Department of Damage Control issues.
That actor probably needs a Matt Murdock in real life as well, but we're gonna skirt past that. Before I throw it to Liam, and then Liam, when I do throw it to you, I know you got a timeline here, so feel free to share where people can find you on socials, and then we will get out of here as well. But Damon, who else has fought Kingpin before and lives in New York that could potentially show up?
Only the world's greatest archer.
Kate Bishop, of course, has gone toe-to-toe with him before. Damon's very excited for her next appearance. And if Kamala's there and Kate's there, maybe Daredevil Born Again could be the secret, sneaky launch pad to Young Avengers that we didn't know was coming. Liam, did you get a chance to see this trailer, and what did you think?
Well, I would never watch the trailer because I wasn't at D23 and I don't watch pirated footage. However, if I were to hypothetically have seen the trailer,
accidentally saw it against my own will because Twitter, it's broken.
If I read trailer descriptions that were illegally put on the internet and imagined them in my head, I would say that it seems pretty cool. I'm excited for Daredevil Born Again. That is, we talk about how many shows do you need and how many things could actually be a movie. Like Damon said, this is clearly a successful serialized product, so let's keep doing it as such. More Punisher is always a great thing. I agree. Muse looks awesome. That is one of those characters where I like, I don't know everything about comics. I know very little about comics compared to some of my counterparts in this industry. And as soon as I saw Muse, I was like, I want to know about him. Like, good Lord, is that a cool character design? I mean, as soon as I read about Muse and imagined Muse in my head. But beyond that,
I imagined this cool character design.
There's a lot to love from the Marvel live action fronts, and Ironheart should be pretty solid. I loved getting introduced to her in Wakanda Forever because of the Boston connection of it all. I know she's expelled from MIT, but I hope we do some stuff in Boston in the show. And I got to speak with Jim Rash not too long ago, who plays the dean of MIT in Captain America: Civil War, and he's back in this show. So I love that little interconnectivity. Obviously, we're wondering why Miss Marvel's dad is in Born Again, but the fact that they're making the effort to have those like little threads, I think is super cool. I loved when one of the Howling Commandos' grandsons or great grandsons was Peter Parker's principal in Spider-Man: Homecoming, and played by the same actor. I think it's John Cho, if I'm not mistaken. Little things like that just make this world feel so lived in, and it has felt absent over the course of the post-Infinity Saga. So I appreciate that Marvel is getting back to its roots in the sense of scaling back how much quantity they put out, but also understanding it's the little tiny intricate variables that got us hooked in the first place, and they're giving attention to the little things. So that makes me a fan, and I think that is all the Marvel panel.
The grow up for Jim Rash to go from dean of Greendale Community College to dean of MIT, like that's about as big of an upgrade as you can have.
That is pretty big. Yeah, that's a good shout.
At least in the academic streaks to go. That's a pretty big climb. I'm proud of Dean. Liam, where can the people find you on socials?
Yeah, I'm everywhere at Liam C. Crowley, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, mostly present on Instagram. So if you want to see any clips of my interviews or stuff like that, I always have them up on Instagram Reels. I try to post daily, and beyond that, I'm posting on my story, a couple times a day. So a lot of my content flows through my Instagram. So if you're looking for places to find it, go there. And yeah, if anyone's a wrestling fan, I should be having some pretty big AEW interviews at some point in the next week in relation to All In London, which is AEW's big stadium show every year. And beyond that, just stay locked to my socials, and you will see where my content is and the future of it. And I'm very excited for what's to come.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's a blast as always, and I will see you both in a couple months when I'm in New York City. And so that's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you are following the Agents of Fandom on socials, at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. And of course, hit the like button, subscribe, notification bell. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the Agents of Fandom wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. And we will be back next week with some more fun games and drafts ahead of Agatha All Along premiering on Disney+. We'll see you next week, everyone. Peace.